today, do something a little bit different in that going to have a little show and tell type of thing. And it's about this object in this box. There's a bit of a story for this. I'm going to share that with you. So my grandfather was the Surgeon General of the Air Force. And during his time, he served until I think he retired in 1973. And he was Surgeon General for, I think, from like 1969 until 72 or something like that. During that period of time, and before that, he did a lot of like inspecting facilities and different places. During the late 60s, he did some tours of Vietnam in that capacity and some other things. Also during that period of time, he had some interaction with NASA and astronauts and things like this. And we're not totally sure about all the details of that. There are pictures of him. There are secondhand stories about that in our family. But I never heard him talk about it. And the other thing about him was he didn't talk a lot about much nothing. So, it was a little bit hard. If he had something to say, he was going to tell you what it was. He didn't really want to hear about what you thought about it, or questions, kind of discouraged. So he was that kind of old school type of guy. So he had these interactions and such. On his bookshelf was a number of kind of cool memento types of things from his various careers and everything like that, like you tend to see military folks have. And one of them was this box. Very nondescript sort of thing. It's got a the lid is broken. It always has been, but it's still held together. But it's just this little plastic box with some little foam in it, and this rock. In his handwriting on a sticker that is on the box, it says Apollo 11 Tektite. Tektite is a type of moon rock that was, I think, created when a meteor hit the surface of the moon and it reacted with the chemistry of the rocks that tend to be on the moon, which I think are basaltic. It creates a rock like this, which kind of looks like ebony, but it's not. Tektite anyway. After he passed away, family all came to town and we're all going through everything and kind of boxing up things and helping my grandma to transition to a place that she could kind of deal with a little bit better. And they had a big house. Dad was, of course, part of this effort. And he was like, hey, I was over there mostly helping like move big things and throw stuff out. But they were upstairs kind of going through everything else. One day he was like, hey, you like rocks? I kind of do. You want that moon rock? I'm like, yeah, sure. Honestly, that was my entire reaction to it. Like, cool. Yeah, that'd be fun. I took it home and just kind of tossed it on the shelf someplace and didn't really think anything of it. At that time, 2 little kids, job, lots of craziness, all of that kind of thing. And so I really didn't think anything of it. My uncle, some of the family were there already, but then some more came about 3 or 4 days later. And one night we're having kind of this big dinner thing and everybody's sitting around the table. And my uncle said, hey, has anybody found that moon rock? Now this is like about a 12-foot table and my uncle is kind of down on the other end, but I heard him say it. And my dad was by him and he goes, yeah, I do have that. I gave it to Jim. He, immediately I was like, oh, I don't remember where that was. And he goes, well, I hope we can find it because it's probably worth about $5 million. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know where it is. I didn't say that, but I went, yeah, I'll bring it tomorrow. When we started to explore, this is like just as the internet is emerging as a thing. So there's no real Google, there's nothing like that. I mean, you can try to search for stuff and you'll be lucky if you find anything. We started talking about it and researching the provenance of it, and it's like there was no direct evidence that it actually was, other than he must have believed that it was, or he might have thought it would be funny to play a joke on people and tell people it was. I don't really know. Or maybe he was in on it, the joke, I don't know. But, it's all very plausible. I mean, you see movies and things like that where the astronauts bring moon rocks back and all this kind of thing. But when you start to investigate that from an ownership and legal perspective, it turns out that it is illegal to sell a moon rock in the United States, because this is technically U.S. government property. The United States government and the taxpayers built a rocket, and they trained astronauts, and they fueled the rocket, and they sent it to the moon, and the astronauts worked there, and they brought it back. It's technically their property. Now, the value was not really $5 million. The value is, there's a calculation. If I want to establish that, you estimate the value of what it would take to build a space program, fly a rocket to the moon, and bring back a rock. The size of this rock, which is something like a couple ounces, is probably more like $2.5 million or something like that. But still, we decided at that time to try to kind of like, is this actually a moon rock? Because nobody really knows. And he doesn't have any notes on it. There's nothing like that. And literally, we've got these foam chips in here, which are all falling apart. And that's all that's in there. Whatever this foam is from the 60s. We started hunting around, and we found some guy that was in St. Louis who kind of had this reputation about knowing about stuff like this. We sent him an email, which was very fancy at the time. A couple weeks later, he got back to us and he was like, yeah, I don't do moon rocks. I do moon meteorites. But if you want to find out if it's a moon rock, talk to this guy in Canada. Started talking to the guy in Canada. He said, okay, here's how you figure it out. You take it to a jeweler and have a slice of it, real thin slice, removed, and then send that to me and I'll test it, and then I'll send you a report. So he did that. I took it to a jeweler, got that sliced off, et cetera. And you can kind of see, I don't know, I'm going to hold it up. I'll get some close-up shots later, but you can kind of see where it got cut. Turns out, 6 weeks later, we get this report, and it is not a moon rock. He was like, I don't know what it is. It might be a moon meteorite, which would be a piece of the moon that flew off when a meteorite hit the moon and then got sucked to Earth orbit, became a meteorite, fell to Earth. He says it could be that, and that happens all the time. There's lots of them. He's like, I can't really tell if it's that either. So sorry. A dramatic process that led to a very unsatisfying or boring conclusion, but it is pretty funny. I've kept this rock ever since, and it's a good story, to tell people. And pretty much anybody who's come over and spent any amount of time in my house, I've told this story to, because I find it amusing. That's the story of the moon rock that wasn't. I hope you enjoy that. I will return to my regular sorts of things here shortly. But if you like this kind of stuff, feel free to like and subscribe. And thanks for taking some time out of your day to watch this today. Thanks.